Hello everyone. Today we are live for the proposed changes done by PTE, which are going to start from 4th of November. We'll be waiting for a couple of students to join and then we'll start. Our major agenda is to cover up the changes in speaking module, specifically in describe, image, and retell lecture. I also want to wish everyone happy Diwali. These changes are brought just not a long ago, so we have covered all the things, and then we also have a solution at the end of the tutorial. So stay till the very end. We will be waiting for students to join, and meanwhile, if you guys are having issues in any of the areas, any questions, don't feel hesitation. You can put it in the comment section and I'll try to reply to all the comments. But we will be going through the changes and what we are supposed to do moving onwards. So at the end of the video, I'll be also giving you a solution, do's and don'ts, right? Now, students, you can keep on putting the comments. I'll reply one by one. Now, this is definitely a big change, I would say, but there are few things which we just need to alter in how we are giving the response for describe, image, and retell lecture. So once you understand those alterations, it's not going to be very difficult, right, to get the scores. And as I said, this is what PTE has proposed for describe, image, and retell lecture only. So you don't need to worry about other tasks such as essay or even summarize written text, spoken text. Templates are working perfectly fine. No human involvement is there in those templates, in those questions. They are only going to have double scoring in describe, image, and in retell lecture. So I'll be going through do's and don'ts as well. Okay. All right. I have one question over here. Students saying, how about the results? Will it take 2 days? Yes, it will not hamper the duration or it will not hamper the time that you get the results back. So you don't have to worry about that component. They will send the results in the same amount of time. It might take extra, I would say, 2-3 hours, but on top, that's the maximum duration they have given, 2 days, right? Now, Harshal is asking, is this a big change or just we need to improve in content? Yes, we do need to improve in the content. It is a major change because so far, what PT has been always campaigning that there is no human involvement, there is no human bias, right? But now onwards, they have introduced this human component, right? So definitely, overall, it is a very big change. It is a very big, I would say, significant change. They might also bring the same thing in the other questions, in the future. We can't comment on that now. But yes, with the content, if you are actually answering or describing the questions, you will be fine. You don't have to worry about failing this exam just because human check is coming up. So we have few solutions to that, and once I start the tutorial in just 2 minutes, then I will be mentioning those points as well. Students who have exam on 4th and onwards, this is specifically for them. So you need to make sure that you follow all the do's and don'ts I will be going through today and you implement them in your preparation. Now, students who are studying with VLE, we will be posting internally on a portal the latest template with the changes, right? And I'll be giving in-depth tutorial as well on different kind of questions, how to attempt it, and that will also be uploaded in our portal as well. So students who want to have the access to that, make sure that you have the portal access, and if you have not signed up to a portal, you can sign up to a portal. I will be sharing the link to a portal as well after the session. Now, another student is saying that if the content marks are not going to get recorded, will it impact the fluency and pronunciation? So this is the question from Nagma. Yes, guys. If your content is 0, your fluency and pronunciation will be zero as well. Okay, so you have to make sure that your content and pronunciation, right? Specifically, they both are linked, but content, if it is zero, pronunciation and fluency directly is going to be zero straight away. So you need to make sure that you score good marks in the content portion. Now, some students who have exam on second, now Ruhi is saying she has exam on second. This is not going to impact, right, as much. Uh, so you don't have to worry. Okay. Students who are going to give the exams from fourth, they are going to get impacted. So Ruhi, you are on a clear. So Kuram Inayat, she's asking, is it for all or those who got maximum marks? Not really. This is basically for everyone. They're not going to handpick the students. They're going to do this for all the students. Doesn't matter whether they scored higher marks or lower marks. This also is a positive change for some students who were basically not very, who were having actually difficulties in with their voice as well. So a human check will verify the content portion, and most of the times students used to get zero mark due to their pitch, due to their voice issues. Now that's going to be reduced, because once it is gone through the human check, obviously all the errors, all the anomalies, or all the differences are going to picked up by the human. So there are going to be more chances for those zero marks moving onwards, right? um, all right, guys, let's start. So the very first thing we have to discuss is what are the changes and why these changes are being proposed. So if I go to the official website, what Pearson is saying that we are making the changes to make Pearson academic more better test, or basically advanced test. So what they're basically doing, they're trying to do these enhancements. With the enhancements, they are basically bringing the human check to the content portion. Now they are combining the human expertise with the content, with the AI checking for the content portion, just for describage and just for Retell lecture. So other tasks are not getting impacted. Now, obviously, students are asking that will it impact the timing of the test deliverability or report deliverability? No, it will not. But what are the do's and don'ts, guys? Now, obviously, PTs focusing on two tasks only, which is describe image and which is Retell lecture. So let's start with describe image first. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to also show you a sample response that's going to really help students understanding what is the expectations. Okay, so I'll be doing that at the later end of the tutorial, so make sure that you are tuned till the very end. So let's start with the very first thing with describe image. What are the don'ts? Now what Pearson is stating that they will be definitely focusing on memorize templates, memorize sentences, lines. So obviously if you have memorized a template, you're using sentences, and you're not explaining the image itself, you're going to get zero. So that is the number one change. So that is very important that you keep this thing in your mind. Second thing, what they're saying is that when it comes to the describe image, try not to mention just the labels. So what do they mean by that? So sometimes students only focus on the top heading, on the x-axis, on the y-axis, that's it. A lot of times students don't cover what's happening inside the image. So if you're just focusing on the labels, that's going to get you penalties for the content portion. So that is the second thing you need to keep in your mind. Okay. Third thing, what they're saying with the third point is that try not giving your own opinions. So what do they mean by that? Sometimes students speak with the template that this image was very beautiful, this image was very informative, it helped me in my speaking exam. Don't make such comments moving onwards, guys. Okay, if you're using such kind of templates, you need to stop using those kind of sentences in that template. Okay, they are also stating that when it comes to the describe image, you have to be very careful that you need to speak at least for 30 plus seconds. So what they're saying is that if you're only speaking for 20 seconds or less, that means you have not covered enough features of the described image. That means they have not. That means you have not covered all the elements. So from moving onwards, you must speak for at least 30 seconds plus. Obviously, if the image is very small, that means if the image has less content, then it's okay. You can speak for 25 seconds, doesn't matter. But if image has a lot of data, it has a lot of trends, you have to make sure that you cover all the major significant trends. That is very important. Okay. Now, another thing they have mentioned, which is very important for all the students, is that you need to make sure that you identify the key features in the image. Okay. So what do they mean by that? So you have to make sure that you are stating the trends, guys. Okay. So I don't know if you guys have given the IELTS exam or not, but if you remember the writing task number 1 for academics, which was basically describing graphs, that's what they're expecting you to do. You need to state the upward trends, downward trends. You need to state, right, the changes, right, happening in the image, in the graphs, in the tables, right? So that's what you need to start including in your templates. Okay. You just simply cannot say random sentences with no connection to the image, because obviously human is going to check now. So you need to make sure that you are stating the trends, you are stating the differences happening in the image. So that's really important. The final bit, what they have mentioned is that you must include numbers as well. Obviously, numbers play an important role when it comes to the content overall. So you need to make sure that you are including the numbers as well in your response. So these are the changes, these are the things which you need to keep in your mind moving onwards. Okay. Now, obviously, our team is working on preparing such kind of structure, a template which covers all these requirements. Okay. And obviously, for students who have booked their exam, it's going to be a little difficult for them to go through all of them. But once you have memorized this kind of structure, it's not going to be very difficult. Okay. So you have to make sure that you practice enough times before you actually go for the exam. Now, let's talk about the Retell lecture quickly as well. Now, what they're saying when it comes to the Retell lecture. With the Retell lecture also, they have few things which they have specified as their don'ts and do's. So when it comes to the don'ts, let's see. They're saying that if you're using the memorized responses or templates, obviously you're going to get 0 marks straight away. And if your content portion is 0, your fluency and pronunciation will not be scored. That means you will be getting 0 mark in fluency and 0 mark in pronunciation. Now, they have also mentioned that some students use only a single words, right, with no connection, with no meaning. You have to make sure that you pick phrases. You can pick small phrases such as some students use global warming as separate words, like global, and then you're using warming in separate context. So you need to make sure that you use global warming together to make a meaning out of it. So that is really important. So you must pick smaller phrases, right, instead of words. Then they have also mentioned that you need to also be very careful that you're not trying to cover everything for the Retell lecture, because it's only 40 seconds you are allowed to speak. And that's really important. Now, some students might get confused that the more they speak, the better marks they're going to get. No, that's not the case. For describe image, they have just said try to speak close to 30 seconds. For Retell lecture also, that's what they're expecting, about 30-35 seconds. They're not expecting you to tell every single thing. Okay. So it's not more the merrier. It's the quality, the meaning out of the response. That's what they're looking for. Okay. So that's what you need to keep in your mind, guys. Okay. Now, when it comes to the single words, try to avoid them. Try to make meaning out of whatever sentence, whatever keywords you're picking up in your Retell lecture. Okay. Then obviously you sometimes use templates. Over here they have given an example. They're saying let's say you pick up a sentence a template which has a sentence. This is my answer to the question, and the final conclusion have been mentioned. So obviously they are trying to eliminate all these kind of templates which has no significance, no correlation with the answer. So you need to make sure if you're using such kind of templates, you need to stop using them straight away. Okay. You need to make sure that you use phrases, try to explain whatever is happening in the Retell lecture. And on top of that, you need to also make sure that you don't try to cover everything, only the important aspects, majorly nouns. Okay. Now, what else they have mentioned? Let's see. They have also said that you need to use linking words such as so, then, which, who, that, to connect your ideas and to establish relationships. So this is very important. Right now, students who are using templates, obviously they must have some sort of connectors, right? If not, you need to add connectors. So you need to connect one sentence with the another. Okay. But it cannot be, big sentences. So use connectors like however, moreover, then, that, and so on, right? But don't use big phrases which are basically part of your template, because that's going to count as pre-memorized content, and straight away they will give you 0 mark. Okay. So that's very important for Retell lecture. Now, on top of that, for Retell lecture, guys, one important thing from my personal and professional advice to all the students would be, when it comes to Retell lecture, try to work on your notes. A lot of students don't work on their note taking skills. Note taking is a crucial aspect. So the better you write the notes, and the faster you write the notes, and the important points, if you can capture even in a bullet points, it's going to be easier for you to put it in an answer, right? You need a structured, I would say, template, but it cannot be now something which students used to use, which did not had any content. I have seen templates where students were basically just putting 1 or 2 words from the question statements. That's it, right? So that's not going to work moving onwards. Okay. Now, on top of that, what else they're saying? They're saying that this is basically to ensure that we are able to understand students language skills, right? So that's what they're focusing on. So moving onwards, what you guys have to also work on, you have to make sure that you are able to identify the trends when it comes to the images, but on top of that, you are also able to identify the key words, key nouns for the Retell lecture. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to read 2 sample responses. Okay. One for Describage and one for the Retell lecture, which Pearson themselves have basically mentioned in their tips. Okay. So let's start with the Describage. I'm going to open up with one of the sample response. Over here, they have mentioned one of the bar graph, right? So the sample answer which they have stated is, so this graph shows us the sightings of dolphins and whales in the bay. So in, for example, 2017, 522 whales were seen, whereas in 2018, 253 whales were seen. However, in 2019, it was the opposite. There were more sightings of dolphins. And then in 2020, we can see that there were more sightings of whales again, with around 700 whales being seen and only 500 dolphins being seen. More whales were sighted than dolphins in 3 of the 4 years. So exactly what they expect in the IELTS exam as well, right? They want a conclusion, they want a most significant trend, they want a difference amongst the years, right? That's what you need to do. Okay. So you need to make sure that these trends you are able to identify quickly, put them in your own word if you don't want to use any template, and then state it, and then put out a conclusion, right? Whatever you are able to see from the image itself. Okay. Let's read one more sample response as well. Now over here, same question, but in a different way of speaking, a different way of response. So the chart shows the sightings of dolphins and whales in a bay across the years 2017 2020. So 4 years, we can see straight away that the sightings of dolphins is actually increasing from around 200 to 513 across the 4 years, whereas the sightings for whales has sort of fluctuated. So it was 522 in 2017, then went down to around 250, and then to 250 again in 2019, and then up to 707 whales in 2020. It seems that the sightings of these animals has increased or is increasing over the period, with 2020 being the year where there were the most sightings. So what they're doing again over here is basically same kind of response but with different words, but the trends are almost similar. They want you guys to focus on trends, on differences, what's happening with one of the element with the second element, and what have been the changes so far amongst the years, if the years are mentioned. Okay, so now what things you have to take care, write this down guys, for this crime image. The very first thing is you need to make sure, if you're getting any sort of bar graph, line graph, table, chart, try to mention that. Okay, so this chart shows, this chart illustrates. Okay, that can be your opening statement. Try to pick up two trends minimum. So what can be the positive, what can be the maximum trend, what can be the minimum trend, and on top of that, highest or lowest, or basically what has increased or decreased, what has fluctuated or being stable. These are the trends you need to mention. So when you're mentioning these trends, also mention the years as well. Okay, so in 2020 this trend has been fluctuated, in 2020 this element was stable, in 2024 I saw a big difference in terms of the percentage, where I saw this has increased but whereas this has decreased. That's it. Okay, don't make it over complicated. Okay, so these are the trends you need to work. Put some fluctuation, stable, or some kind of vocab which can show the difference. Okay, and then that's it. You just tell the conclusion that overall in this image or in this chart or in this table, overall this has increased whereas this has decreased, or overall this has been rising and this has been declining, or whatever the trend is. Okay, so this is what you need to memorize, and this is what you need to look into when it comes to the describe image. Now let's talk about the Retell lecture. Let's read a sample response for the Retell lecture first. So let's see answer number one. The talk was about a scientific process of making new recipes. So for chefs making cookery books or making recipes for other chefs. They said attention to detail is really important, and that chefs normally use a test kitchen where every single step is recorded. Everything needs to be carefully and precisely measured out as they go through these steps to make a recipe. Once they've done it, they have checked everything many times, like the ingredients. Then the recipe is trailed. It's trailed by someone else. Normally a competent cook, not necessarily a chef. And then that competent cook gives feedbacks on instruction. Chefs said they don't like creating recipes like this because they are not spontaneous. Okay. Now, what they have done, they have captured the main points and they have just created a story. Just like a Retell lecture, basically it gives you a story. And then what you're supposed to do, you are supposed to summarize it. Okay. Now, over here, they have picked up the characters main aspects and what's the action, and then they have draw basically a conclusion. So they drew a conclusion at the end. Now that's what you need to do. So when it comes to Retell lecture, what you're supposed to do first, obviously identify what is the main topic, what they are talking more about. Okay, is it about a book, is it about research, is it about an animal, is it about a concept? It can be about anything, right? So start your statement with that topic. Second thing, what you need to do, you need to make sure that you start as they are starting. Okay, so when you write the notes, write it as they're speaking and write them in a bullet point, so it's easier for you to follow the same trend, to follow the same sequence. That's really going to be easier for you to speak about a particular topic, and then talk about all the elements. You can also simply say that In this talk or in this lecture, I also saw, or sorry, in this lecture, the speaker was also mentioning about, right, this and this. That's fine. You can say that. It's not a problem. But if you're saying every single sentence like this, that's going to be a problem. Okay. So some sentences you can use like this. Some phrases you can directly pick it up from the lecture straight away, right? And little bit paraphrase and then speak them as it is. Okay. So that's about the retail lecture. Now, we will be publishing by the end of the day the new structures for describe image and for retail lecture on a portal. Okay. And I will be making in-depth tutorials for both of them with different kind of examples. Okay. Now, before I wrap it up, I have few questions to answer over here. Now, Eknur and Rebek, they're asking, is it just for these two tasks? Yes, as I said at the start, it is just for describe image and retail lecture. Now, Nisha is saying retail lecture and describe image, how much marks contribute to speaking and reading? So, describe image and retail lecture, they don't contribute marks to reading. They contribute marks towards describe image only towards speaking, about 30 to 40 marks, and retail lecture about 15 marks towards speaking and about 15 marks towards your listening. So for the speaking, if you get only one retail lecture, you will be getting 10 marks for the speaking and 5 marks for the retail lecture. On the other hand, if you get two, you'll get about 20 marks towards speaking and 10 marks towards your listening. So yes, your listening marks can get impacted if you're not performing well as per the new guidelines for your retail lecture. Now, I also see that there's another question. Is there any changes in response to situation? No, they have said it clearly. These changes are just for PTE academic and for PTE UKVI, so not for PTE core yet. Now they are saying, one of the student is also asking, my exam is after 4. See, don't worry, right? You just need to make sure that you cover all these do's and don'ts and you are going to be just okay. Right. Now another student is also asking that I have also seen that there have been some changes in the reading. It's been more tough. It depends, guys, right? They have not made such comments yet. Okay. So this is really important that you try to just, work on these changes first. For the reading, try to use different strategies, right? Such as elimination method, prediction method, and we have more tutorials on them, right, as well. So you can go and check out our channel for updated tips and tricks on reading. Now, another student is asking, should we use the template or not? We have to use a template very wisely. Okay. You cannot use sentences as it is, right? You need to make sure that you are putting more content. Okay. A template can be used, but the template's role is going to be reduced now. It's going to be more content. Okay. So that's what you need to keep in mind. Okay. You can use a template, but definitely it should only support you to structure a sentence. It should not be the main part of your response. Only about 30 to 40% you can use or you can take the help from the template. The remaining answer should be for your content. Okay. So that's what you need to keep in mind moving onwards, guys. Okay. Now, Nagma is asking, what about the images with no information? Same thing. You have to, whatever you see, whatever is happening in the image, that's what you need to keep in mind. That's what you need to explain. Okay. Again, the content is going to be same, but it's going to be more in your own words. Okay. Now they're saying, if we use 8 or 9 keywords using a template, it will work. No, it will not work. They are looking for at least a 30 seconds response. Okay. So you need to make sure that you do include at least less than 15 keywords will not work. So at least 15 to 20, right? So you need to speak for at least 30 seconds, specifically in the describe image, especially where the image has a lot of content, a lot of data. That's what you need to keep in mind. Okay, guys, I think we have answered everything. Let's wrap it up. All the best. I will be putting out the information for a website with the new templates. I'll be putting out the information for the changes in the comment section. I'll be also putting out the information for the tips for describe image and retail lecture, which has a sample response from Pearson themselves. So you can get a better understanding as well. I hope you like this video. We will be posting up new templates in the future. I'll be doing more experiments as well with the real exams. So if you have not subscribed our channel, make sure this you do subscribe. We will be bringing more updates. All right, guys. Thank you everyone for watching. Again, happy Diwali to everyone. We'll see you in our next tutorial. Thanks.